RFG, and I'm back at it today to give you guys more profound, mind-blowing information, absolutely shocking, all right? Information so profound that Instagram did not allow me to upload the video that I'm talking about, all right? So, I'm just gonna let this beat play out. Rest in peace, DMX. Right? This is gonna be a classic, so just pay attention and get ready to listen very carefully. So, without further ado, I'm going to discuss what just transpired on Instagram for the past about 3 hours now. Okay, I tried to post a 25-minute video on Instagram through Instagram TV, the Instagram TV app. And I know on the Instagram TV app, they allow you to post videos that are at least an hour long or up to an hour long. So with this video that I had 25 minutes and 50 seconds, I thought that Instagram TV was going to allow me to upload it. But this is what it said when I tried to upload it, and I screenshotted it. It says, "Can't post this video. Your video must be between 1 and 15 minutes long." So right off the bat, not only did Instagram, I think, permanently ban me from going live on Instagram, they said that the longest video you can upload to Instagram is 15 minutes. So that means that they don't want me to have half of the opportunity to say what the fuck I gotta say as everybody else. They don't want me to even have half of the opportunity of what everyone else has, to say what they have to say. You see, because 15 minutes is only a quarter of an hour. See, they don't want me posting anything over 15 minutes. But guess what? Even if they try to do some fuck shit to this channel, guess what? I'm going to send this out with a bang. I'm going to send this channel out with a bang because they're about to get exposed big time. And this is for everyone who considers the UFO subject and the extraterrestrial subject pseudo. This is for you guys too, right? So this is exactly why they didn't allow me to post a video more than 15 minutes long, right? It's because Instagram did not want people to see and know the fact that in 1994, there was an incident where 62 children at Aerial School in Rua, Zimbabwe, witnessed a silver disc-shaped craft land next to their school's playground. And all of the children reported seeing a dark-skinned humanoid with dreadlocks walking towards them, and the dark-skinned being was accompanied by one of the grays. So there was a gray extraterrestrial and a dark-skinned humanoid that came out of a silver UFO craft, 1994, September 16th in Rua, Zimbabwe, Aerial School. All right, 62. It's actually 62 children. All of them, 100% of them, witnessed it, and they testified to media officials that they saw what they saw. Okay, so let's keep it going. So the dark-skinned being got out of the craft and was accompanied by one of the grays, who also got out of the craft. A few of the children also claim the dark-skinned being communicated telepathically and told some of them not to become slaves to artificial technology. By that time, half of the children ran back into the school, telling their teacher what they had seen. The teacher then called the local police, who got the BBC News network involved, and the news network was paid off to interrogate these children just like fugitives. All 60 children were asked to draw pictures of what they seen. They were all questioned individually, and all children drew the same pictures and claimed they saw the same thing. The interviewers were covertly trying to convince these children that they didn't see what they saw. That's the typical black budget government behavior right there. All right. The BBC News Network never aired this incident on public TV either. Okay. So this incident was kept hush hush. It was never put on any major mainstream outlet that was aired on TV. Okay. This was strictly, I believe, in the local news in Zimbabwe, and it didn't really get out. The word really didn't get out like that until a few years after it. All right. And when you look at how the news reporters were interviewing these children, I'm telling you, I'm going to show you the actual video. It was like a goddamn criminal investigation. It was almost like the reporters were being paid off by the black budget government to interrogate these children. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And this is going to be a longer video because I got the actual footage, all right, of the questionnaire that was asked among these children. All right, almost 30 minutes long. This right here is just another person saying the same thing as me, right? But they put it into different words, and it looks like they spookified it. They tried to spookify the shit. But if you really understand what was told to these children by the being that came out of the craft, okay? The being told them the goddamn truth, and that being saw the future. It told them the best thing it could tell them: don't become slaves to artificial technology. All right. And I'm going to get into that after this video, after these two videos play out. So so this is the aerial school encounter.
It was predictably hot outside on the playground, as Colin Mackey sat waiting in a stuffy office for the rest of his teaching staff to join the meeting. Currently, they were preparing their young charges to go out and play in the sun, but they would join him shortly. Pouring himself another cup of coffee, he glanced down at the newspaper on his desk and then smiled to himself. For the last 2 days, the headlines had been saturated by reports of UFOs hovering in the skies above Zimbabwe. Each emerging description of these alleged sightings seemed to be more colourful and fantastic than the preceding ones, but despite the media clamour surrounding the reports, there was suspiciously little in the way of hard evidence to support them. He looked up as the first couple of teachers finally began to filter into the staff room. He listened with interest to the snippets of conversation that were taking place as they entered, trying to catch the surnames of any of the children that were being discussed. When the last participant finally arrived, he commenced the meeting as planned. As the head teacher of the aerial school, Mr. Mackey was ultimately responsible for the delivery of the national syllabus and the health and safety of his pupil.
So on September 16th, 1994, when all 60 children saw what they saw, close to 30 of them came back into the school and went straight to this guy and told him what they had saw. And this was the guy that had to call the local police. All right? Because, I mean, anybody knows if you have 30 to 60 children saying that they saw some kind of, military, you don't know if that was a military craft. You don't know what the fuck that was. And you have all 60 children claiming that they seen it. So he had no choice but to call the officials. And when the officials showed up, they investigated the children. All the children were saying the same thing. And that's when the police got the news network involved. And I believe by the time the information got to the news network, I think that I think every country that's part of the United Nations, they have their own black budget government. Every country that's part of the United Nations has their own fraction of the black budget government. And if anybody in that country sees something that they're not supposed to see, and the word gets out, the word will get to the black budget government of that country. All right. And they will act accordingly. And they don't give a fuck how old the witnesses are. All right. Because the footage I'm going to show you, I'm telling you, these children get fucking drilled with interrogation questions like they're criminals or something.
Daily responsibilities of a more menial nature were naturally delegated out to his staff, and so once a week, he liked to be able to gain an overall picture of what was going on within the school community. This meeting had started out like any other, with the usual concerns and complaints being raised. Blocked toilets, damage caused to the facility's perimeter fencing, and a lack of variety in the school dinner options were merely a few of the ongoing issues that needed to be tackled. But a short time into the discussion, Mackie became aware of a perceptible increase in volume coming from the children playing outside. As the disturbance had increased, he began to hear screaming and wailing, and it quickly became clear that something was quite amiss. As one, the room immediately emptied, with every teacher running for the exits to find out what had upset the children. When they finally made it outside, the scene that awaited them was akin to something out of a science fiction movie.
See, this is what happens when you don't teach your kids reality, the real reality of the world we live in. This is what happens when kids are brainwashed with Judaism, Islam, and Christianity especially. You see, this is what happens when they're brainwashed with the three main world religions. They're not told that their DNA comes from the Sirius star system, and that this being that landed outside of its school was actually genetically related to him. You see what I'm saying? He doesn't know that. You know why? He's in a state of ignorance because of the three main bullshit world religions. See what I'm saying? See? That's what happens. You know, mass hysteria. Ignorance causes mass hysteria and suffering.
Roughly half of the pupils had strayed beyond the boundaries of the playground and were gathered around the border of a patch of nearby scrubland. All were clearly emotional, some having collapsed to the ground, whilst others stood crying. Several of the youngsters claimed they had encountered a Takolshi, an evil spirit from local folklore, but the older children told quite a different story, one of a little man from another world, who had visited them in order to warn humanity about the future. When Mackie asked one...
Now let me rewind that real quick.
Visited...
Okay, it says, now the older children who were like in between like 9 and 12, they knew that it was an extraterrestrial, all right, that came out of the craft. And the extraterrestrials warned them about the future, because in one of these interviews, one of the children said that the extraterrestrial communicated with him telepathically and told him not to become a slave to artificial technology. I'm going to repeat that. The Elohim, the Nagas, the Anunnaki, the dark-skinned being with dreadlocks, okay? And guess what? It was a fucking dark-skinned being that with dreadlocks that came out of the craft, and I'm gonna prove it through a Caucasian child's own words. I'm gonna prove it, okay? And that being tried to warn them not to become slaves to artificial technology. And you know why that is such mind-blowing information? Because in 1994, isn't that when computers, those big ass computers, just started to become popular? You know, the fucking arcade games, I believe, started in the 80s. sometime in like the mid to late 80s, but in the early 90s, that's when computers were starting to be introduced to public education and public school systems. That is just fucking mind blowing, man. That is absolutely mind blowing. And now, you know what I'm saying, I kind of see why Instagram didn't want me to upload this video, but I'm going to keep it going.
Them in order to warn humanity about the future. When Mackie asked one of the youths where this visitor had gone, the child pointed upwards and told the adult that the man in question had flown away again off up into the heavens. The headmaster stood scanning the skies above the school, but could see no trace of what the youngsters were describing. As he watched his staff move amongst the crying children, trying to comfort them, he realized that despite his skepticism, it was clear that something had taken place. Collecting several of the older pupils, he headed back to the school, explaining that he wanted them to draw what they had witnessed. The town of Rua lies approximately 22 miles southeast of the Zimbabwean capital, Harare. It is home to roughly 20,000 inhabitants and sits on one of the country's main road and rail routes. Beyond these mundane statistics, there is little to distinguish this featureless settlement from many others within the country's borders. That is, save for an event which is believed to have taken place there one morning in September of 1994. In the 2 days prior to this alleged incident, the Zimbabwean media had been reporting a series of nocturnal UFO sightings above Harare. The majority of witnesses had described seeing glowing fireballs traversing the night skies. These lights had moved around at breakneck speeds, making impossible twists and turns, before shooting off again and out of sight. The Aerial School is a private elementary school, which is located on the outskirts of Rua. At the time of the 1994 UFO flap, the facility taught approximately 90 pupils, varying in age from between 5 and 12 years old. On the morning of Friday the 16th of September, all the teaching staff were taking part in a meeting inside the main school building and had left the 62 children who had attended that day to play unsupervised outside. As the youngsters had run and chased one another beneath the burning sunshine, they had suddenly become aware of 3 silver balls hovering in the sky above the schoolyard. Before long, the majority of the children had stopped to watch these objects, which would suddenly disappear in a flash of red light before reappearing again several meters away. With each successive disappearance and reappearance, the objects were slowly descending closer and closer to the ground, making some of the younger children feel anxious. Seeming to sense the unease of those watching, 2 of the objects started to rise back up to their original position, whilst the third continued to move towards the ground. The silver orb followed the path of a line of electricity pylons, which ran parallel to the school's perimeter fence, before descending into a cluster of gum trees located roughly 300 feet from the playground. This area was strictly off limits to the children, as it was home to a variety of poisonous snakes and spiders, but a deputation of the pupils promptly set off to investigate what the object could be. They had moved to within a few feet of the foliage when a figure suddenly emerged from the top of the hovering craft. Immediately, the watching children were taken aback, as no door or hatchway had been seen to open.
Okay, now this is the gray. This is the gray that appeared from the craft. Now, there's a few of the older children, all right? And this came out of the Caucasian children's mouth that they saw a dark-skinned figure with long hair. Now, here's how I know that the figure had dreadlocks. Why didn't the children say that the dark-skinned figure had an afro when they said it had long hair? Why didn't they describe an afro? No, they said the long hair from the dark-skinned figure was going down, was fought with the hair was down, which tells me it was dreadlocks.
It was as if the man had simply levitated up from within the object's interior. The individual was only about 3 or 4 feet tall, and was clad in a shiny and tight-fitting suit of some kind. Descriptions of him in the aftermath of the event varied somewhat from child to child, but most agreed that he was thin, with elongated arms and legs, and oversized black eyes, which were shaped like rugby balls. Some of the witnesses described him as having a thin neck, whilst others stated that he had black hair that fell down to his shoulders, or was wearing a hood.
Now, see, the kids said that they saw a figure with black hair that fell down to its shoulders. That's a separate entity that came out of this object. That was the Nagas. That was the Elohim. That was the Anunnaki.
The entity floated down the side of the orb until he landed on the ground beneath, and then began to walk around as if inspecting the rough terrain. At this point, a second figure suddenly appeared at the top of the craft, causing the nerve of the younger witnesses to break, sending them screaming back to the school building to fetch help. Apparently aware...
Now he illustrated the second figure as another gray, and I'm here to tell you that is not what the older children were saying, and I'm gonna prove that.
Aware of the commotion that its presence had caused, the first creature then moved over to the waiting children, where it surveyed them through emotionless eyes. Straight away, the youngsters were consumed by an overwhelming feeling of despair and hopelessness. Several claimed to have visions of the world decaying and dying around them, and a voice in their head warning them of the...
Okay, so this is the proof that the fucking extraterrestrials, or the fucking gray, and the Elohim, they telepathically communicated to the children and told them not to become slaves to artificial technology because this is the fucking future. See what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? And what the fuck is happening right now in 2021? And you tell me that these beings didn't know what the fuck they was talking about in 1994? You're fooling yourself.
The perilous and dystopian future centered around a falsehood. Inside the main building, a number of the children had located the school dinner lady, the only adult not involved in the staff meeting. She had been running the break-time tuck shop, but believed that the children were trying to draw her away with the story so that some of the others could steal sweets, and refused to come outside with them. Meanwhile, back outside, the children assembled near the floating craft continued to be tormented by a whispering voice that warned them of the danger they were all in, and that their future would be a dark and foreboding one. Throughout this interaction...
See, I think this guy's really trying to spookify it, because when you hear from the children's mouth, the beings were communicating with them with more positive energy, just telling them to stay away from artificial technology. Don't become slaves to artificial technology. That's all the children said that the extraterrestrials said to them. You see what I'm saying? They didn't say that they really felt a major negative energy like that. This guy is spookifying this.
The entity standing before the pupils did not speak, seemingly able to plant the dystopian thoughts and images they were experiencing directly into their minds. After a number of minutes, the intruder turned away and then floated back up into the waiting orb. The object promptly shot up into the sky at great speed, before disappearing with a further red flash. When the teachers finally emerged from their meeting to see what had caused the commotion, there was no trace of the craft, either in the skies above or on the ground where it had landed. Realizing that something significant had taken place, Colin Mackey quickly encouraged the children involved to draw pictures of the being they had interacted with. In total, the pupils he identified created 35 images of the entities and the orb in which they had travelled. When investigators and journalists attended the school the following day, Mackey laid all of these renderings out as proof that the children were not lying about the encounter. Over the decades that have passed since the incident, it has become increasingly difficult to find any of the children involved. the overwhelming majority have long since left Zimbabwe to settle on foreign shores. Many others have died as a result of the country's ongoing civil issues. But the few who have been located have maintained their story, increasingly concerned that the warnings the creatures issued continue to be ignored.
That's right. That's right. Those two entities that came out of the craft, they tried to warn their asses. See what I'm saying? Because what they said back then in 1994 is happening now. We are becoming slaves to artificial technology.
In the days following the occurrence, a number of prominent ufologists visited the aerial school in order to investigate the encounter. Whilst the visual inspection of the alleged landing site, along with the use of Geiger counters, produced nothing of value, interviews with 12 of the young witnesses completely persuaded investigators that the incident had transpired exactly as it had been reported. The fact that the children were all of varying age, ethnicity and social standing, but were providing a near-identical account, was believed to be a clear indicator that the story could not have been made up. Alongside this, the early observations of the teachers and the drawings supervised by Mr. Mackey further reinforced the apparent validity of the witness accounts. Many of the children who were spoken to had no concept of UFOs or extraterrestrial entities. They were local youths from poor backgrounds and believed that the entity which they had illustrated and described to the investigators must have been some form of spiritual creature or demon. Days later, reports emerged in the press that witnesses at the neighbouring Pier House School.
See, if you're a Christian Jew or Muslim, you would think that those beings were so-called demons.
Had also observed the objects, further reinforcing the incident's credibility. Over the years, commonalities with the aerial school encounter have been uncovered in the testimony of other alleged alien abductees. The concept of extraterrestrial visitors speaking telepathically is commonplace, and a minority of other witnesses have described warnings from aliens about the future and what is in store for mankind. There are also a number of other incidents where UFOs have been witnessed, apparently visiting teaching facilities.
You know why? You know why? Because they know motherfucking humans is getting taught wrong. They know humans are getting miseducated. But I'm gonna cut the video off right there. Okay, that's actually heroic of the goddamn extraterrestrials. You know what I'm saying? These fucking schools are like prisons, man. Teaching people lies, teaching people backwards knowledge and backwards information. But now we are going to see the absolute fucking nail in the coffin. This is the in-person, person-to-person interview of the exact video footage of the 1994 incident where all of these children were interviewed one by one by so-called ufologist and the BBC News Network. Now, I think the UFOologist and the news network, I think that they were working with the black budget government, because you have to listen how they're interviewing these children and how they're asking these questions. It's just like a fucking black budget government interrogation.
About grade 6 this time.
Can you describe what he looked like, the shape of his head?
Well, I couldn't see his nose, but his nose was quite small, and his mouth was quite small, and his eyes were shaped like a thing.
It's swimming around down there, so I went down to see what was happening, and I actually saw this out the trees, and it was like in a Milky Way pattern on it, like silver and green and that sort of colours. And then there was this little boy crying, so I went up to him to see what was wrong with him, and he said he was quite afraid of it. And then that actually made me quite afraid of it, because when somebody's afraid, I get afraid. And then I saw this person, and his eyes were like in a slant, like so, and his mouth was just like a line, like this. And then at the time, the teachers were in a staff meeting, So nobody actually went up to go and call the teachers because I think they were too afraid and everything. So when the bell rang, because somebody eventually went up, one of the prefects went and said to one of our teachers, Mr. Vernon, please can you ring the bell, because there's quite a bit of a performance down there with all the kids running around. And then somebody from BBC came to us, and he went for a walk down there with us with a Geiger count. And actually on that piece of metal over there, we could stand up on it, and you could actually see a few burn marks. So he asked us when we were walking down there with him, he said, please could you come down with us to go and have a look at the things. So when we walked about, if there's about 6 poles, and if you have a look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there were burn marks actually on the ground. And then the heels there on the rock, the day that it happened, there was something glittering, like quite strongly. And then when we came back to school the next day, it was just gone. And also, when we went down with them, the burn marks were just gone, that's like a few minutes later.
How long did you observe this whole happening?
I think it was about 5.5 minutes when we went down there, because it was actually quite scary.
Well, I was at the tech shop over there, and then I saw people crowding up at near the site. So I went there, and I looked, and I saw this ship, and it had this light like a pattern, yellow, purple, and green. It would keep on going around, and then there was something running across, and something of the ship that moved. Then when I looked more down, when I looked like straight vision with the glass, I saw some like alien thing. He had big eyes, like what Guy was saying here.
Do you agree with the other two that the eyes were slanting, the mouth was rather thin, the nose small, and it was about how tall, would you assume?
Maybe about 3.5 feet.
But you agree with the other descriptions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Suddenly I saw this glittering thing, what my friend Kaylee saw, and it had orangey red, like glittering thing. It kept on moving at the side, and I saw like a black thing sitting on top of it. I don't know if it was a branch or the thing, the part of the alien where it was sitting on, but I don't know. I looked and I saw this silverish type thing in the bushes, and I was really excited.
Guy has just one last mention of something very interesting here. Guy.
And Mrs. Stark, we used to go down there with our teacher, Mr. Vernon, just for a walk for our content studies. We've got a dam, it's actually empty at the moment, and we go down there to get some clay and pieces of glass. It's actually quite interesting because there's usually ants that crawl on us and bite us. And when we went down there with the BBC, we were walking around and we came back and there were quite a few antholes and antholes on the floor. There was not a single ant, and there were a few dead ones on the floor.
My name is Candace.
Candace, please tell us what happened.
Now she's gonna be the first. She's gonna be the first person to say that she saw a black being get out of the craft. All right, and there's gonna be 2 more male children that said that they saw the black being with the long dreadlocks.
Exciting day.
Me and my friend Claire, Haley and Camilla, we were just walking, and then we saw this maroon colour just waving about, and it was disappearing, and we started to follow it. And then we stood over there on one of the logs, and we saw like this silver thing, and we decided that we should go down there and see, but Claire said we're not allowed there. So I said, it doesn't matter, let's just go and see. And we got closer and closer, and we saw this silver thing just shining. And we thought that it was just a house with glass reflecting in the sun and shining. Then we thought, no, it can't be that, because there's no houses up there on the rocks. And then we waited for a few minutes, and we just stared at it, and we heard this flute, sort of like a flute noise, and then we got closer and closer, and then I saw this black figure running in slow motion, and then
She saw a black figure running in slow motion, okay, that got out of the craft. A black figure running in slow motion that got out of the craft. That's what she saw. There's going to be 2 more male children that say what she saw, but they're going to explain it in more detail, right? They're actually going to describe the hair and the skin color.
I didn't want to see it, so I looked away, and I looked again, and it wasn't there anymore. This figure, like Candace said, running in slow motion, and one poked its head up and looked at me out of the grass, and me and Candace were really scared. We nearly screamed. We were so scared, and we were running back and forth because we were excited and scared at the same time.
Anna Ribeiro.
Anna, please tell us your experiences.
You see, and when the bell rang, me, Gary, and Portia were supposed to practice for assembly that day. So we were called out by Stefan, that's one of our friends, and he called us and he said he saw something. So we went. I didn't actually believe that he actually saw something because he was saying it was an alien. And so I went out, and then when I was looking at it, I saw it's like a silver light, and like that kind of spaceship you showed me just coming out, just for an instant, and then it just disappeared, like just like that. And so I first thought it was my imagination because everybody was talking about it, but then when I thought about it really, I thought, no, it couldn't be.
Well, the night before, I saw the cigar-shaped spacecraft.
Okay, so he said the night before, the 16th of September, 1994. So he says September 15th, 1994, he saw a cigar-shaped craft in the air. That's what this child just said, that he saw a cigar-shaped craft over the same area the night before.
But I've got it in my picture, but it wasn't exactly like a cigar shape. I thought it was a circle. Then the day after that, I saw it in the air again with my friends, Farai and Barry.
What did you see that morning here at the school?
Well, these other children were running. I asked them what it was, and they said it was a UFO. Then I ran with them to the logs over there. Then I saw one person sitting on top of the ship and guarding it, and another one running up and down like he was.
Okay, so one being got out of the ship and got on top of it and was standing in a posture like he was guarding the ship. And then there was another being that got out and started to run.
Confused. And he was actually looking at us. But some people said there's another property over there right at the back. It's Mrs. Nurse's property. Some people say that it was Mrs. Nurse's gardener. Some people say that it was a house over there. But I don't believe that because I went up with the BBC, and as you know already from the ancestor thing, we're all dead, so then he said there was radiation marks, but...
And Marley, you believe that there's no house that would be near enough that all the children could see this so close to the playground?
No, because on Monday, when we went there again, there was nothing.
Could you tell me what you saw on Friday?
Well, we
Yep, here go the interrogations.
People. There was a white one, a red one, and a black one. And the black one was sitting on the spaceship.
How do you know it was a spaceship?
Okay, so she just said the black being got out of the spaceship and either stood or sat on top of the spaceship, but his posture was like he was guarding the spaceship. Right, that's what she just said.
Is it a helicopter or something like that?
Well, it looked like it was like glinting in the trees.
Now he's gonna describe the gray.
Like it looked like roundabout like a disc, like a round.
And whereabouts was it?
It was in the trees over there, between the third pole.
And you say it looked like a disc. Are you sure it
Yeah.
wasn't a Harrier jump jet or an aircraft?
Yeah, see, it's like he's trying to covertly convince them that they didn't see what they saw. You see, so this guy, I think, may be getting paid by the black budget government there in Zimbabwe, because like I said, every country that's part of the UN has a black budget government. So he may be getting paid to try to convince these kids that they didn't see what they saw.
No,
Something that the Zimbabwe Air Force
it was like
have got?
in a disc.
And what happened, Guy?
Well, it was just glinting in the trees, and there was a man, and he walked towards us and he walked back again.
And what did he look like?
His face was like this, and his eyes were down here.
Like, what, further down his face?
Yeah, much further down than us, because our eyes are here, his are down.
And how close were you to him?
Well, I was at the back because I had just been finished in the classroom, and I was quite at the back. So all the other kids were in the front.
You don't think it was somebody in fancy dress doing a prank
No.
or something? What about you, Ariana? Tell us what you saw.
Well, I saw the same as Guy, but I saw this like one on the silver glittery thing. I saw this like black long. It looks like a stick, but it was very thin.
It was a man, was it?
I don't know what it was, but it was very thin. All I saw was like a long thing, and on a like a silver thing.
And he was very, very, very thin.
What? I mean, it wasn't. Do you think he was a sort of a black Zimbabwean man?
Well, not really. He wasn't very, very dark. He was quite lightish, and he was very thin. Not as.
And how tall about?
He's referring to the gray.
About, say there.
Just a bit taller than you.
Well, yeah.
And why do you think that this was something different? That this wasn't some helicopter from the Zimbabwe Air Force and just some guys playing a joke? Why do you think it was actually a UFO and possibly a spaceman?
It was just because somebody wouldn't just be playing around and just be on the ground all of a sudden.
Did it make any noise, this thing?
Not really. No.
And it landed. Something landed. Do you see it land?
No, it was in the trees over there, like in the trees, like glinting, and like there was somebody on the ground.
And then what happened?
And then he walked towards us and he walked back again, and they just went.
How? How did they go?
It just went all of a sudden.
What, like a helicopter? Went
No,
up?
just went
Which way?
more down into the valley,
At about what height?
quite high, like.
And then what happened?
And then it didn't come back again.
And did you girls see that as well?
Yes.
Great. So you're headmaster of Ariel School. Tell me, what do you think of all this?
This is the headmaster principal of the school.
I feel sure that the children feel that they did see something. I don't believe or disbelieve, to be perfectly honest. But I do feel that they definitely saw something. We had a number of children say they did. We asked them to draw pictures of what they saw this morning, what they saw on Friday. And after looking at those, I definitely feel that they did see something. I agree that it could be something that we are not common with. But to actually say that it was a UFO, I would be reluctant to make a decision like that. I personally did not see it.
Can you just tell me very briefly, if we go along, just say what your name is and what you saw?
Okay. Two of these children are going to say that they saw the melanated man with the dreadlocks come out of the craft.
What did you see?
There was some like ship landed on the ground.
Why do you say ship? Did it have a shape?
Yes.
Like what?
It was.
See, this woman is really, I think she's really undercover black budget government. Just listen to her tone of voice and how she's asking the questions and how persistent.
It had a round top and then it was flat like that on the sides.
What was around the side?
Just so like a platform coming around the side.
Did you see anything else?
Yes, we saw a black man running around.
Okay, bingo. He just said he saw a black man running around the craft. He just said he saw a black being, a black man, get out of the craft and start running around the craft. There you go. 13:55 into this video. This video is 27 minutes and 2 seconds. At 13:55, he says it. He says he saw the black god get out of the craft.
A little man or what?
From where we looked, he was about this small, but we were quite way away. So it was about our size.
Could you see his face?
No.
What is your name?
My name's Luke now, and I didn't see the spaceship, but I saw the little black guy. He was all black.
The little so-called black guy. He saw the little black guy with dreadlocks get out of the spacecraft. Again.
And it looked like he had long hair.
Okay, bingo. So if he didn't say afro, if this guy, come on now, we all know what an afro looks like. You know what I'm saying? He just said that the black being who got out the craft had long hair. So I'm gonna make the assumption that that's dreadlocks. So those beings is where Hollywood got the idea for the Predator movie. And these kids, these children saw the real fucking thing. The real Elohim, the real Nagas, the real Anunnaki.
Could you see his face?
No,
just in the black. What was he wearing?
It just looked like he had long hair, and he was all black.
But he was naked.
Okay. So long hair, and he touched his shoulders, so it was down to his shoulders. So it's dreadlocks. It's, you know what I'm saying? It's not afro. It's dreadlocks, just like the Predator movie.
No. What did he have on?
No, that's all you can see.
Oh, you could only see that?
Yeah.
Why? Was he among the trees?
It was just about like a shadow. It just showed a shadow come.
What is your name?
Everyone.
Oh, and you also saw this
Yes, we were all there.
Creature?
Yes.
What did you think it was?
I don't know, really.
Did you see the thing, whatever it was, land?
Yes, after the bell rang, I was walking up to the class, and I just saw flashes in the side of my eye, and that's really what I also.
But you didn't see anything on the ground?
No, I saw it, just the
shadow.
Yes.
What's your name?
I'm Daniel Mandy, and I saw this silver thing in amongst this clump of trees with this one thing sitting on the side and another thing sort of like running up and down the top.
When you say thing, was it a form of some sort?
Yeah, it almost looked like a real person, except it was fairly plump.
I'm telling you, if you can't tell that these children are being interrogated by the black budget government, I don't know what to tell you.
Really? And what did you think it was? What were your thoughts?
At first I thought it was just some boy from the compound playing around, but the hair it looked more like our hair. It wasn't curly. That thing almost looked like a hippie.
Okay, so the hair was down. So the dark figure's hair was down. It was not an afro. Confirmed.
My name is Emily Watson. I saw the little black men. They had long.
Okay, she says she saw the little black man come out of the craft.
Longish hair, and it was all black, and they had big black eyes,
That's all I saw. I saw a glimpse.
Now I think the big black eyes on the black man was maybe some kind of eye shield, some kind of eye shield or sunglasses, probably some kind of eye shield. Okay, folks, that's where they got the idea for the Predator movie. Okay, so now you saw how many children? You just saw four Caucasian children state to an official investigator that they saw a short black man with dreadlocks get out of a spacecraft.
They kind of turned around and stared and then went back into a kind of like ship. There was like sort of one big one with quite a few little ones all scattered around.
When you say you had big eyes, show me with your hands the size compared to
They were
yours.
oval, kind of like that.
Oval?
Yes.
I see. And could you see anything else on the face?
No, I couldn't. All I could see was his hair, and when he turned around, and then he...
Were you afraid?
Yes, I was.
What did you think it was?
Well, everybody was saying that they were UFOs.
What kind of question is that? Were you afraid? The dumbass lady interviewing, would she be afraid if somebody walked out of a UFO and approached her? Come on, man. Like I said, this shit is like, it's some kind of black budget government investigation on these children, man.
And everything, so...
Other people said they were UFOs.
Yeah, people were coming around telling... we were in the classroom and I ran out and I saw it. I did think they were UFOs. I did see them.
Were you perhaps...
So she knows. She knows the deal. She knows what she saw. You see what I'm saying?
Sort of, but I did definitely see it.
And the interviewers are trying to covertly convince the children that they didn't see what they saw. But this child right here is not a dummy. She knows what she saw. You see what I'm saying?
What you saw?
What I saw, yes.
Did you also see?
Yes.
What is your name?
Charity Shanda.
What did you see?
I saw something silver on the ground amongst the trees and a person in black. And that's all I saw.
You saw a person alongside the silver thing?
Yes.
What did the silver thing look like?
It looked like a saucer, but the shape wasn't really round.
Have you heard about UFOs before this?
No.
You didn't know anything about it, so it was something quite new.
So this person didn't know a damn thing about UFOs existing before she witnessed it.
Yes.
Were you afraid?
Yes.
What did you do? Did you run to fetch the teachers, or you just stayed with the other children?
I stayed with the other children.
If you see it on some of the drawings, I think like this one here.
See, this right here. See, this is covert. This was a covert interrogation of 62 children that all saw something they weren't supposed to see at the same time.
And that's basically what he saw on Friday.
Like a pencil in the sky.
And they all drew pictures of what they saw, and it's all similar.
Marcy.
And this is Emma.
Oh, Emma Christensen.
Yes.
Yes, because your drawing was particularly interesting. They have asked me about it. You saw in your drawing, you've got not only the main object there, but you've got several others. Now, did you see these coming down, or did you see them in the sky?
I saw them disappear. They went 1 meter up from the ground and then they just disappeared.
They went 1 meter up and they disappeared. And this, you saw this creature?
Yes, he was very, very shiny black.
Shiny black?
Shiny black.
Suit?
Kind of suit.
Would you say it was like an ordinary suit that, was it like what Mr. Mackey's wearing?
No.
What would you call the type of clothing?
She saw a Naga wearing a cosmic suit, all right? Just looks like a so-called spacesuit with long dreadlocks.
I'm not sure, but he was really...
Have you ever seen the divers going to the sea?
Oh, yes, like that.
Was it like that, or was it like an overall? Or a tight-fitting suit?
It was tight-fitting.
It was tight-fitting, and it was shiny.
Yes.
Could you see his face?
Well, I only saw a glimpse of it.
And you don't remember any individual features?
Well, I only remember that his eyes were quite big.
Heights would be. And were you afraid?
I was a little afraid.
What did you think?
That's the second child. Look, come on. You gonna ask every child if they were afraid? It's like who are these people working for? Who are the interviewers like really working for, man? That's crazy. That's a dumbass question.
I don't know. I just thought it was some kind of alien from a different planet.
So you knew about UFOs?
Yes.
You watched on television?
Yes.
Do you think that influenced you? Or you weren't thinking about it?
I was thinking about it.
Okay. Thanks, Emma.
And Lisa, was that on? Lisa was a little bit...
Today.
All those children got interviewed.
And what did you see?
Well, I saw a silver thing. It was like lying down like this on the side, and I saw a black man. He was dressed in black.
A black man dressed in black.
And he had big eyes.
Show me with your hand how big the eyes
They
were.
were shaped like something like...
Now, I think when they talk about the black man dressed in black, I don't think his eyes, those were really his eyes. I think those were like spectacles or some kind of eye goggles he was wearing.
What did you think it was?
Well, I thought twice. I thought it was an alien, and then I thought maybe it was a garden or someone.
Field detector, picks up electromagnetic and electrostatic fields. Like
okay, the rest of the video
next to electrical wires, you can pick that up.
This is where they test the field for electromagnetic activity. I'm gonna fast forward it right here. Yeah, I'm gonna fast forward it.
He looked like he was in Durban. You see these people in like a diving suit, a really shiny one, and he looked like.
Okay, so he was in like a diving suit, all right? And many ancient cultures drew pictures and images of extraterrestrial beings that look like they were in diving suits. That's because there's really water. There's less dense water outside the atmosphere. So if you need a craft to go outside the atmosphere, that same craft should be able to move through water, because when you go outside the atmosphere, it's less dense water. You see what I'm saying? So that's why they said the beings looked like they were wearing diving suits.
And that, and his eyes were down here, and he was like looking really, really funny.
A few of my friends and I were sitting in the playground eating our lunch, and we saw, well, Emily said first that she said, there's a UFO, and she didn't really think it was a UFO, because, it was just kind of flying along slowly, and then we all looked and we thought, yeah, that is really a UFO. And it flew along for about a minute or so, and then it disappeared, but it looked like a cigarette.
What did these spacemen look like?
He looked like definitely not a human. I don't know really. He had a big head and big black eyes and was dressed in a black bodysuit. Tight fitting.
And what were his arms and his hands and his legs like?
Like humans, but he definitely didn't look like one. His head
They saw a Naga, they saw Anunnaki. They saw the Elohim.
All I saw was a silver flash, just like that.
And some say they saw many spacecraft.
And I saw the man with his eyes here, and I saw I saw the bigger one, and the spaceship, like 4 or 5 of them, like crowding around it. And then after a couple of minutes, they just disappeared, like just went. I saw one big one, and then quite a few little ones scattered all around.
How many of quite a few? About 2 or 3 or 4?
4.
About 4. And what were the little ones doing?
No, they were very still, and then I saw them also disappear. They went about a meter off the ground, and then they just vanished.
And what happened to the big one?
The big one did the same. My friends and I, we ran down to the teachers, and we went into the office, and we started telling the teachers, and then they said maybe there's nothing.
And how did that make you feel when they said maybe there's nothing?
Well, we felt very sad because we did see something.
See, that's because most adult humans are calcified. Children under the age of 13 are usually decalcified. Their pineal glands are fully open. So, I actually think that these extraterrestrials have a detector on some kind of pineal gland energy. I'm dead serious. I think they have some kind of technology to where they can detect pineal gland activity. And they don't even really bother with people who don't have any pineal gland activity. I'm dead serious. I'm pretty sure that the pineal gland projects some form of energy, some form of frequency that can be detected. See, and I think a lot of these beings can detect that. And this is why most human adults, even if they did see a craft, you know what I'm saying, they either wouldn't give a shit or they would just deny it. Their cognitive dissonance would kick in due to social programming, and they would deny it. What they're seeing with their own eyes. See, but children don't do that. Children are wiser than that.
Mr. Mackey said that maybe there was something down there, but he didn't really know.
I'd like to state what they did see, but I am sure that they personally are convinced that they saw something, and it was something not common or not part of nature. I am skeptical about the whole situation, but I do believe that there could be life on other planets.
Okay. So he believes there could be life on other planets. All right, so I'm going to leave it off. I'm going to leave it right there. Okay. I'm going to leave the video right there. That was the interview of most of the children who saw the UFO landing 1994, September 16th, Rua, Zimbabwe aerial school. Okay, this was a second video done on a ufologist who investigated the situation, and he came to the conclusion that the children were telling the truth. Okay, this is the second video right here. Okay, start it off right here. Yeah, this one is much shorter.
Zimbabwe witnessed several objects landing and two beings coming out. Just over 2 months later, John and Dominique came to the scene to work with the children, their parents, and the teachers still suffering from shock. John, who essentially specialized in child psychiatry, devoted a great deal of time to interviewing the children.
Something scared you, is that right?
Yes.
What scared you?
The noise.
What noise?
The noise that we heard in the air.
You heard a noise in the
Yes.
air? What was it like? Like a roar or a buzz or a hum, or what kind of a noise?
It was like someone was blowing a flute. It was scary myself.
So I think that was the second child who said it sounded like a flute. And you know what's crazy? When you watch the movie Close Encounters of a Third Kind, or is that what it's called? Correct me if I'm wrong. Is it called Close Encounters of a Third Kind? Where when they see the beings get out the UFO, it plays that flute-like sound. It's like an arcade flute sound. That's very, very interesting.
Because you saw something yourself?
Yes. I saw a little object hovering. It was quite big actually, and then there was little ones all around it. It was silver, and the ring around it was red.
It was red. Did light come from the whole thing? Or
There are lights around here.
lights along the edge there? How many of the strange beings did you see?
I saw one over here. They had eyes like that, and they were kind of just like looking at us. They were like kind of astonished.
The eyes were like more pointed as they came in toward the center of the head. Is that
No, more circular, and this was all black in here.
all black? Now you've made pupils. Did they actually have pupils or
White.
what?
The pupils were white like
You
that.
saw white in the center?
Yes, like that.
I honestly think on the black man that they're talking about, I think that these were like some kind of goggles, and the white right here may have been some kind of reflection off of, how black goggles has, light reflects off of black goggles. I kind of think that that's what they might be referring to.
Was he near the silver object, or was he far from?
No, on top.
On top of the silver object. Okay. And did you look at him?
Yes.
Did he look at you?
Yes, then he gave me the creeps, then I stopped looking.
Gave you the creeps. Actually, in your drawing, you showed him standing up, didn't you?
Yes, I had to draw him standing up, was I couldn't draw him sitting. What I thought was maybe the world's going to end. Maybe they're telling us the world's going to end.
I can tell. I mean, I know this is something that a person wants me to believe, or they're frightened, or they're distorting reality in some way. There's nothing like that here. These are people of sound mind, by and large, telling me something that's very... They know that I might think they're crazy, and so they're a little concerned about telling me, and they're very full of questioning themselves and doubt, and I mean and then they describe something very real and intense, a light or something happened to their body, or it's the whole quality of the way they talk about it is the way a person talks about experiences that happened to them.
Now these are the children that grew up in 1994. If they were in elementary school, they're in their 30s. They should be in their mid 30s right now. And these are some of the kids, some of the children who grew up.
Never go out of my mind was the face and just the craft, you know. They'll always be there.
We met up on many occasions after that and hugged and shook our heads and said that was the most amazing experience of our lives, wasn't it?
It was literally fear of the unknown, pun intended. You know, that's the best way I can describe it, but I'll never forget it.
It was strange, it was exciting, it was, you know, it's just, you don't see stuff like that every day, you know. That was like a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Strange, I guess, like I said, anyway, I mean, I don't want to believe in the whole aliens and stuff, but it always leaves me.
She said she doesn't want to believe in aliens. She doesn't want to believe in extraterrestrials. See, that's indoctrination. That's religious indoctrination.
Questioning, thinking, that was very strange. So it is possible. And I mean, in a way, I guess there are times when I try to disassociate myself with like the experience and like what happened in 94, like trying to disassociate myself with what happened there when I was in junior school, but I realized I'll be lying to myself.
No one is willing to say that because we know that we didn't just make things up. Something definitely was happening. Whether it was UFOs or whether it was, who knows what else. You know, we can't say for sure one way or the other, but definitely there was something that happened there that day. And it got the whole school riled up.
I don't believe for a minute you could get that many kids to agree to do something like that. I really don't. I know children well enough. I just don't think that would happen. So I'm absolutely sure that something did happen there.
It was not a regular day at school. Yeah, I think if there was one experience I'd like to relive, it would be that particular experience.
It really does stick with me that something happened, something was out there, and the kids saw it.
He has never stopped talking about it. He has never stopped talking about it. And he has believed all the time.
And do you know that, let me put another nail in the coffin. After all these children were investigated, right? All these children were investigated. But why did this story never make it to mainstream TV networks? Now, there was a news network that interviewed them, but they never aired this footage on public television. This was never aired on public television. So you know what this tells me? That they definitely tried to keep these people hush hush. They tried to keep this information on the wraps as much as possible. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? And this is actually a drawing of the black being, of the black man who got out of the craft. And there's his hair. Look, that's fucking dreadlocks. Here it is again. And this is the video. You can look for yourself. Okay, put this shit on YouTube. And when you pause it at 3 minutes and 4 seconds, you see the drawing of the black man with the long dreadlocks. See, grays don't have the long dreadlocks. That's the Anunnaki. You see what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? So this, I think what the children saw was like a smaller version of this, and the glasses were probably larger. All right, and they were probably a black color, but an oval shape, but they were still goggles. And then he had the dreadlocks. Okay, that's what I believe what they saw, and this being right here was accompanied by one of the grays. Now, I asked myself a question: why the fuck would a Anunnaki want to, be around a gray? Like, why would an Anunnaki be with a gray? Maybe the gray was a benevolent gray who knew that, you know what I'm saying? He fucked himself up. He was fucked up genetically. He lost his soul because he fused himself with artificial technology. And that's why these two beings telepathically communicated with the children and told the children to not become slaves to artificial technology. And if you think that that's bullshit, all right, I got some news for you, because in 1994, those two beings predicted the fucking future and knew what was coming. Because right now on the earth, we have smart TVs, we have smart phones, we have smart watches, we have smart tablets, we have smart laptops. We have smart cars. We have smart home security systems. We're getting ready to have smart cities. Everything is smart on the earth except the goddamn humans. Everything is smart on the earth except the goddamn humans. Can you believe that? See? And people, are messaging me and telling me, well, why? Well, RFG, why is this so important? Why is this so important, man? Why is this so important? I'll tell you why it's so important. Because you must know who you are as a sentient being to know your place in this universe. You must know who you are as a sentient cosmic being and that is the first step to spiritual enlightenment. You must know your place in the fucking cosmos. You must know your identity as a sentient being of the universe. That's the first step of spiritual enlightenment. See what I'm saying? So these children, seeing what they saw, I believe was very important, because it's always going to be in the back of their subconscious minds, and it's always going to be with them that, we are not alone in this universe. You see what I'm saying? And I think that's very important for children to learn. Very important, because in ancient times, most of the humans understood that there were billions of planets with life on it in this galaxy, and hundreds of trillions, thousands of trillions of planets with life in it in this universe. The ancient humans understood that. You see what I'm saying? So, I'm using this channel to push that knowledge back out to humanity once more, so we can acquire the same amount of wisdom, the same amount of knowledge that the ancients had. See what I'm saying? Because we went through a series of amnesia. The chosen people of the earth went through a series of amnesia from 1490 to now. See what I'm saying? And that's why I've been trying to wake people up on this channel for the past 5.5, 6 years, right? All right. And yes, folks, I know about the shootings that are taking place in the United States, and they are happening so frequently. We have never been closer to Rex 84 in our history. All right. I have videos about the shootings on my Patreon channel. my Patreon account. The link is in the description. All right, go check it out. I'm also trying to get in contact with people who have experience building aircraft, building cars, building trucks, building trains, building homes. See what I'm saying? If you have any experience with architecture and building infrastructures and building vehicles, rockets as well. If you can prove to me that you have experience in that, go ahead and email me. My email is also in the description. So with all that being said, that's all I had to say on this topic. This is the nail in the coffin for the naysayers. You know what I'm saying? Who like to call this shit pseudo. There's no such thing as the word pseudo, because every thought in your head is a possible reality. All right. So with all that being said, that's all I had to say on this topic. I appreciate everyone who supports RFG and Atlantean movement. Please like, share, and subscribe. It's the Chosen One, man. I'm out.